first witness is Dr. Anthony Levatino. Dr. Levatino is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Over the course of his career, Dr. Levatino has practiced obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings, including as an associate professor of OB/GYN at the Albany Medical College. And Dr. Levatino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to get right to it. Second trimester D&E abortions performed between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks, but she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, and pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you. And use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart and lungs. Head on the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you pretty good idea you've got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. And you have a day like I had a lot of times. Sometimes a little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations, you just successfully performed a second trimester D&E abortion. You just affirmed her right to choose.
How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
So, I mean, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay. But to the end of the third trimester.
Yep. I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So, where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give a birth, would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would make.
I understand that. I'm asking
point.
if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
No exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
But the struggle for women's equality is not simply something to be read about in the pages of your history books. It continues to be the fight of our lifetime. Women's ability to get basic health care, our right to make the most deeply personal decisions, is facing the most significant threats in recent memory. This administration has rolled back access to reproductive health services at home and around the world, and proposed cuts to international health, development, and diplomacy that put both women's lives and our national security at risk.
Leader, Andrea Stewart. How beautiful does this sound? Kavanaugh is going to reverse Roe v. Wade. I have no doubt. Gorsuch is going to reverse Roe v. Wade. I have no doubt. So what do? Protect ourselves. Pass a state law that is a prophylactic from the federal action, and that means pass Roe Reproductive Health Act and the Contraceptive Care Act.
Do you want to see the court overturn? You just said you want to see the court protect the Second Amendment. Do you want to see the court overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, if we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, that will happen. And that'll happen automatically, in my opinion, because I am putting pro-life justices on the court. I will say this, it will go back to the states, and the states will then make a determination.
Donald has said he's in favor of defunding Planned Parenthood. He even supported shutting the government down to defund Planned Parenthood. I will defend Planned Parenthood. I will defend Roe v. Wade, and I will defend women's rights to make their own health care decisions. And we have come too far to have that turn back now. And indeed, he said women should be punished, that there should be some form of punishment for women who obtain abortions, and I could just not be more opposed to that kind of thinking.
If you go with what Hillary is saying, in the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. Now, you can say that that's okay, and Hillary can say that that's okay, but it's not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day. And that's not acceptable.
Well, that is not what happens in these cases. And
a baby is born on a table as a result of a botched abortion. What would Planned Parenthood want to have happen to that child that's struggling for life?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we believe that any decision that's made should be left up to the woman, her family, and the physician.
What happens in a situation where a baby is alive, breathing on a table, moving? What do your physicians do at that point?
You're recognized.
I do not have that information. I am not a physician. I'm not an abortion provider, so I do not have that information.
I am the doctor you're meeting with today. So
Okay.
it's all of it.
Okay.
So I do the state mandated stuff, which is kind of this part, but I'm going to go through everything in terms of the procedure, how it works, what we're going to be doing, all of that stuff too. If you feel like you're having contractions and enough discomfort that you think it might be labor, call us. Even if it is 1 o'clock in the morning, we want to know, and we can meet you here in the office to take care of you.
Would it ever come out? Would I give birth while I'm calling you and on the way to what would I do if that happened?
If that happens, just keep calling us, keep heading in this direction.
Okay.
And then we can help.
If it's like, I mean,
Well, and that's the.
I mean, not to get graphic, but if it's like moving
No,
and
these
stuff,
are
like
good
I still come
questions.
to you.
Still come here.
Okay.
Absolutely. Step 2 is that we do the injection, which is a quick poke through your belly, and that stops the fetal heart. So that makes it so if you were to deliver, there shouldn't be movement. There shouldn't be any of those things.
Okay.
So it's almost like we're guaranteed it's like we're okay.
Yeah, we induce a demise, an intrauterine demise.
What does demise mean?
Death. It's to literally go in and grab and pull pieces out.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe that's a little more graphic than I usually describe it. When you come in tomorrow, you'll be 23 weeks and 2 days. And the state of Arizona requires me to tell you that at that gestational age, the fetus is about 8 inches from the top of its head to its buttocks. It has a beating heart, fingers, toes, and it can make spontaneous movements.
At this point, does it have like all of its organs and all of that stuff? Like, is it already fully
It's not
developed?
fully developed. It doesn't even look like a baby yet.
It doesn't?
Technically, it has its organs. It has parts, like we all have parts, but it's not done.
So, like, does it have a face or like all of that stuff? Or?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's developing into.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want you to torture yourself.
And did you understand exactly what the digoxin does? That's the injection that they give you. That's one of your forms that you filled out.
And it like goes into my stomach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That stops the heartbeat
of the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're okay with that?
I don't really have another choice, do I?
No, well you don't, but you could probably do it without the digoxin if you wanted to.
How?
Well, it just takes longer to.
How do they do it then?
Huh?
How do they do it if they don't use
Well, they don't use the digoxin, they'll just suction the baby, and it's possible that there may be movement as they're taking out the fetus.
Like movement after?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
Well, then usually it stops on its own.
Okay. So, okay, if they use the
digoxin?
No, what did you say, suction?
Uh-huh.
So if they use the suction, then there's possible movement when it comes out.
Yeah, and sometimes after...
Is it alive or?
Sometimes they are, yeah. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will come out whole, because they use suction, because they use instruments, and sometimes the fetuses don't come out, that's not complete.
Okay.
So,
but if it does come out whole,
mm-hmm.
I mean, will they resuscitate it? Like, will I have to take care of it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, but the digoxin is probably the best thing for it. That way there's no suffering. Okay?
Okay.
I need your signature and date on that line, and then we'll get you going.
If that does happen, like if they do it, if I were to choose to do it that way, like, you would just let it go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you would just let it die on its own if it
Mm-hmm.
was whole
Mm-hmm.
and breathing. Yes?
They
Okay.
do not resuscitate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just let it die on its own and...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the chances of it coming out with a heartbeat are kind of slim because, like I said, it's a procedure where they use instruments and suction, and it's most of the time they don't come out whole.
Okay.
But
But if it does, then I don't have to worry about getting in trouble or taking a baby home.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I understand that you're not a physician, but you do represent physicians who do perform this activity. And can you tell me what happens when a baby is alive on the table? At that point, what do they do with the baby that is struggling to live?
You're recognized.
I don't know, and as it's been referenced earlier, we don't know even how prevalent this situation is.
There could be no greater contrast to the beautiful image of a mother holding her infant child than the chilling displays our nation saw in recent days. Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. And then we had the case of the governor of Virginia, where he stated he would execute a baby after birth. To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb. Let us work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life. And let us reaffirm a fundamental truth. All children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God.
President Trump, in his third address to the nation tonight, just short of about an hour and a half, as we watch the interaction here. It comes in the middle of a huge week for the president as he hits his highest approval ratings in Gallup today.
Let me just interrupt. Did you just see House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ripped up the speech right behind the president as he's still there?
I missed that moment as he was. Oh.